You're listening to the Tax Insights podcast, where the professionals at Hawkins Ash CPAs break down complex tax topics into bite-sized how-tos. From red flags to random selection, there's no certain way to know if your tax return would get audited. In this episode, Jeff Dvorachek, a tax partner, shares insight into why you may be selected, the items the IRS may investigate, and other things to be aware of if you've been notified by the IRS that your tax return is being audited.
It's one of those words that I think oftentimes people are fearful of. Oh my gosh, I never want to get audited. Walk us through what is an audit, what is all involved, why you should or should not be nervous for it, and any other insights you can give us from an audit standpoint.
Sure. So, if we think about an audit, there really hasn't been that many audits over the last couple of years because the IRS has been really short-staffed. But with the recent tax bill, there's been a lot of money that's been allocated to the IRS and specifically to the audit branch part of it. So I think we're going to start seeing more. And an audit really isn't anything to be afraid of, unless you're kind of really pushing that gray area, in the tax law.
So is this an audit just for businesses, or can individuals get audited as well too?
Yeah, individuals and businesses can get audited. There's times where a business will get audited, and because of that audit, it'll kind of flow on to the individual's side of it, and then they'll get audited also. But we've seen quite a few instances of audits being done just straight at the individual level.
So why would an individual ever get audited? Is it because there is a red flag, or is it completely random and by chance?
Both. So the first one is the IRS a number of years ago had done a bunch of just random audits just to see how people were complying with the tax law. But most of it is because of what you said before, the red flags. Now, the IRS does not publish kind of what kind of deductions, what kind of expenses, what kind of income is out of the norm that would kind of trip the trigger of looking at being audited. But, if you have extremely high deductions in comparison to a business of similar type, or let's say that you have large charitable deductions like we talked about last week, or other things, there's certain things that the IRS is just gonna look at a lot closer and then potentially audit your return.
So how far back can an individual or can the IRS go for an individual audit and or for a business audit, or is it the same answer?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same answer. The IRS can go back 3 years to audit your return. But if they find that you have in any of those years a substantial understatement of income is what they call it, they can go back 6 years and look at that information to dig deeper into your return.
So last question then regarding all this, I would imagine that being audited takes a lot of time. Time is money. Who pays for that auditor's time? Is it you, the business, or is that just part of the IRS budget, shall we say?
Yeah, that's one of the things that we talk about quite a bit with our clients, that, even if you get audited and even if you come out with not owing anything, it's just a nice clean audit. You're right. There is still additional fees. There's fees from us. There's just fees from the time that the business owner could have been doing their own work. So it is an expensive process, no matter how you look at it. And normally those fees are, whether they find anything or don't, it's pretty much borne by the taxpayer.
Yeah, and you can't obviously opt out of an audit, right? I opt out of this, kind of like jury duty. Yeah, like that. That's not how this works, is it?
That's right.
Yeah. Jeff, a lot of great information every week on Tax Insight. How do listeners reach out to the team over at Hawkins Ash?
So I would go to our website, which is hawkinsash.cpa, go to that CPA HQ section, or go on any one of our social media sites. And like you talked about, Terry, download some of the podcasts and you can listen to old episodes.
There we go. Jeff, thank you for your time every week here on Tax Insight. We'll talk to you next week.
This has been Tax Insights, presented by Hawkins Ash CPAs. Learn more online at hawkinsashcpas.com. Hawkins Ash CPAs. Part of your business, part of your life.